Anthony and I are welcoming you on a Friday morning to chat a little bit now about a bird migration that we have here in Chicago. I am thrilled that we're talking about this. So get this. There is an estimated 1 billion birds that have already flown over Chicago and the Midwest since Sunday as part of their spring migration north, and hundreds of millions more are expected each night through Thursday. So this massive movement is part of an annual migration from the tropics that peaks in May, so we're nearing the end of May, when birds travel north in search of food and rest. Experts say the timing lines up with blooming flowers and the arrival of insects, which provides crucial nourishment for the birds. So we are lucky enough to be joined by Bob Dolgan, who is the Director of Communications. Good morning, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
With
Thanks
Newberry Library. Where are you joining us from right now, Bob? Are you at the library?
Yes, I am. I'm in my office at the Newberry. We're, as you might know, a library on the Gold Coast, and this is where I work and have been putting together an exhibition about birds, actually, that's coming up in June. So, but glad to be talking about spring migration here in the middle of May.
So how many birds total are we expecting to fly through this city, and what are the most surprising or beautiful species that people might not even realize are coming through?
Sure. Yeah, we're talking tens of millions of birds coming through Chicagoland right now. They're coming through in sort of waves as we get warmer weather and the warm fronts coming up from the south. They catch a ride on the winds going to points north, and a few of them that I think about at this time of year. Some of the ones that really stand out are, species like indigo buntings, Baltimore orioles, the rose-breasted grosbeak, scarlet tanager. These are birds that spend the summer in northern areas like ours and even farther north, and then spend winters in Central and South America. And they're right here in our forest preserves and parks. They kind of use our area as a sort of rest area or way station on their way north.
That's so cool. What about our Chicago's geography makes it such a common, I guess, stopping point or rest stop, as you say?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, if you look at Lake Michigan, it acts as a sort of funnel that sends birds along the shores. Birds are flying from the south. They hit this gigantic lake and then need to make a decision where they're going to go. And so naturally, to use less energy, it's best to stay right along the shoreline. And we're positioned pretty uniquely to be right in the middle of the United States with a huge lake that sort of guides birds. Plus, we have an amazing forest preserve system and city parks and just all these green spaces that are providing what they need, like the insects and the cover that are needed for safety. So yeah, we're kind of in an ideal spot. It's really amazing to have a city like this right in the middle of a migratory path.
So I'm curious to know, where are they going? So do they go all the way to Canada? Is that their end spot? And then I've always wondered, which I think you just explained, why do birds leave the South at all? Because I guess we've got the bugs and the nutrients for them here now, whereas maybe if they all stayed south, it's kind of picked over.
Good question.
So it kind of cycles.
Yeah.
Save some
exactly.
calories.
I mean, there's a limit on the number of birds that can be in any one ecosystem at one time. So if they were all in the south, that would not work out well for them. So they head north and go to places like northern Wisconsin, and some do stay here in the Chicagoland area as nesters, of course, but many are headed to like northern Wisconsin, Ontario, northern Michigan, Canada, where there's just right now just an explosion in insect life taking place that is going to be providing for birds all throughout the summer until they head back. A relatively short summer. I mean, fall migration will start in late August. So so that's where they're headed. But as many of us know from our backyards, there are plenty of birds sticking around here too.
Yeah.
So we get the best of both worlds.
You mentioned the fall, so I'm wondering, for a bird's cycle, do they have their babies up north, because this is where we have a bunch of food and insects for them, and it's warm in the summer, so they have their babies, and with enough time to get those babies to be fledglings to learn to fly, and then they follow them back south. Just And then when they're down south, are they having babies there too, or do they wait until they come back north in the summer to have their babies?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's nesting season, breeding season in the summer in the northern hemisphere, and so we're going to see that activity all throughout June, July, into August, and then birds are going to be heading south. And then in winter season, that it's time to fuel up and rest and get ready for next spring. And so there isn't usually nesting happening during the winter, maybe in some of the extremely warm areas. Down south, but for the most part, it's just it's refueling and making sure that birds are ready to come back north.
Really cool. Now, tell us a little bit, Bob, about this exhibit that you have coming up and what we will learn if we visit Newberry.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so the Newberry Library is a historic independent library on the north side, as I mentioned, and we have 1 million volumes in our collection. We have just a massive collection that we've amassed since 1887. I'm not sure that anybody has ever looked through the collection for birds really systematically, and so what we're doing is putting together an exhibition that will highlight birds in the collection, and you'll see artwork and manuscripts. We even have a taxidermy specimen of a prairie chicken. We have a whole array of items and objects to tell the story of birds and people over the last 500 years or so in North America and Europe. And so we've got some incredible artworks by people like Mark Catesby, who dates to the 17th century, but also people like our contemporary artist Tony Fitzpatrick here, who has a studio in Bucktown. So we really run the gamut and tell the story of birds and how people can protect them and have protected them through centuries.
I love that so much. I actually have 2 bird boxes in my backyard. Last year we got bluebirds in there, and we have a camera that we can watch them have their babies. This is just a personal issue that I've had, and I'm wondering if you have a solution. So last year, unfortunately, we had 3 rounds of baby bluebirds in our box. The third one, the babies got quite big, but then they died. And I think that the reason why they died is because my neighbors have they spray for bugs. They spray in their yard. And it was shortly after that I think the parents were picking these bugs because the bugs were all running away from the house. And I think that's my theory anyways. If we have babies again this year, what would you recommend I do to help? Should I hang some food right there by their house? I know they like mealworms, or anybody who has a situation where they have a bird's nest, but maybe there's poison around, to help them survive.
That is a tough one because you can't really control where the birds are going to go for food, and they're probably not going to be able to detect whether the food has a pesticide associated with it. But mealworms are a great option for bluebirds. I know it's difficult to talk to neighbors about their practices, but that might be a conversation you could have. But one of the things I was going to add is just it's really important to create great natural habitat for birds, and to leave the leaves even. Don't clean out the yard completely, because that's great for worms and caterpillars and species like that birds are depending on. So but you raise a great point, because pesticides are one of our biggest concerns as birders, and do have a big impact. But it's great that you have bird boxes, because we also do need nesting cavities, and that isn't always easy to come by. You guys,
I gotta say, if you check out Amazon, they've got the whole kit. You can buy the bird box, and it has a little camera, and it has a little solar panel, and they're not crazy expensive either, and you can pop them up on your app on your phone. Right now I've got
we could probably figure out how to live stream it.
I know. I've got sparrows right now making a nest, which is their nests are so messy compared to my sweet bluebirds.
The bluebirds.
That was another
bluebirds.
thing. I'm sorry, I'm going off the rails here, but the sparrows and the bluebirds this year fought intense. And I watched it happen, because the bluebirds came back, because we had 3 rounds. I mean, the third ones didn't make it, but 2 rounds of successful baby bluebirds that were raised. And then this year, the bluebirds came back, but unfortunately, sparrows had found this box that we have. So the bluebirds and the sparrows physically fighting to the point where there were feathers flying. And I was distraught.
Did you go intervene?
I didn't know what to do.
Because you're on the side of the bluebirds.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I was sending my daughter out to scare the sparrows away, but like there's no point because
Circle left,
those sparrows they were determined to take that box from the bluebirds, and they won. And now
dog eat dog world out there.
So that's why we put up a second box.
There you go.
And the bluebirds been peeking in there, but these birds are very territorial.
Okay. Let's talk about another concern real quick while we have Bob. We're running out of time, but bird strikes. Okay, as these come through the city, all these glass and steel buildings, how bad is the problem?
Yeah, unfortunately, Chicago, we're a capital of architecture, and we love glass buildings, and that's actually the worst thing for birds that are flying through urban areas. The glass reflects light. People leave their lights on at night, and birds use light to navigate, like a sort of GPS. They use starlight. It was found years ago, and so it's a bad idea to leave your lights on at night, and oftentimes that leads to bird strikes during these big waves of migration that I mentioned. So, it is a concern in the city, but there are some steps anybody can take. From putting patterns on glass that are pretty. They're not something that people really perceive very much, but that can stop the birds from flying into the glass, as well as turning off lights at night. But unfortunately, we are one of the hotspots for bird strikes, in part because of our amazing location right on this flyway. But
I always cringe because we get an occasional bird strike at my house. I mean, we have an old house, and occasionally you'll just hear like a boom, doink, and you're like, oh no, it just breaks your heart. Bob, hey, real quick before we let you go, when does the exhibit open in Newberry?
Winging It is the name of the exhibition. It opens at the Newberry Library on June 20th. It's free and open to all, and it'll run through late September of this year. So
beautiful.
Please come check it out.
All right, Bob Dogan, thank you very much, sir. Good luck with the opening. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.